So yeah, I went to the shooting range today. Today was my first day off.
Oh,
Probably like how many days would you say I worked straight before I had a day off, babe? Like 3 weeks? This was like my first day off in 3 weeks, and I've been working
wow.
multiple 16 and a half hour shifts. We had a big shakeup with our
Right.
security company that I'm working for where the contract got pulled and we had to get rehired. And so I kind of went through like a 24-hour time frame where I was
Gotcha.
unemployed. And so getting rehired, the company was kind of like, look, until we get bodies to fill these spots, because we were at about half strength, they were like, we
Right.
need you guys to hold it down. So, when your head was just on the chopping block, you're not really wanting to say no.
So yeah. Yeah.
And so, hey, it is what it is. But I'm happy that I'm still employed. I'm making good
Right.
money, but I've been exhausted. So today, I finally got off for the first time. And I had to go to Cabela's and I went to the shooting range. And then when I came home, the traffic
Right.
was crazy. So,
All right. No worries.
yeah, yeah. So, let's see here. I'm going to back you out and then I'll do like, you'll see a little countdown timer that goes
Oh,
on
okay.
the stream. And then when it comes on, I'll do a quick little intro
Sure.
and then I'll bring you in and we'll just kind of go over those questions that I'd asked you before. I mean, it's pretty
Okay.
cut and dry.
Sounds good.
And it's called Secfor, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And it's an
Secfor
executive.
International is the full title, full incorporated title. We started a brand a little while ago called Secfor 360, and that just incorporates a lot of online training and things like that.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay. Well, let me take you out and then I'll bring you back. So I'm going to do this and yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard, coming to you tonight with another Observe and Report podcast. Have a guest that is waiting in the waiting room. But before we get to that, just want to go over a little bit of housekeeping. Guys, listen, if you're following this page, you know that our entire reason for being in existence is to help educate, motivate, train, and inform new and entry-level security guards. We do that by hosting podcasts such as this, doing our weekly series known as the Debrief, talking about our industry and just doing everything that we can to kind of bring us all together. Guys, listen, the security guard industry right now, it's booming. It is absolutely booming. With everything that went on last year with the George Floyd protest, the Black Lives Matter movement, the protest of Antifa, everything, along with the defund the police movement, it has really opened up a lot of opportunities for security guards. We're going to be talking about those opportunities. And one of the things that I want to do is talk about what I see on the horizon for 2022 for security guards. And there's going to be a lot of changes, some positive, some bad. But one of the major questions that I hear all the time on this channel when I'm talking to other guards, whenever I take these trips for training, it's about executive protection. This seems to be one of the avenues of security guard training that everybody is interested in. What is executive protection? What does it take to get into executive protection? What's your background that you have to have? What do you need to do in terms of maybe going to school for this or finding training programs? Are there positive programs? Are there negatives to programs? All these questions, I think a lot of them are going to be answered today. We're going to be bringing in someone who runs a company called Secfor 360, Secfor International. These guys, they are former executive protection officers. They run a program that helps to train and educate, motivate, and inform. So they're right along the lines of what we're doing here. We're going to bring Rick into the stream. Rick, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, Damien?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep. Gotcha. Got
Awesome.
me?
Hey, yeah, you're loud and clear, brother. So listen, what I want you to do, I'm going to shut up. You let everybody know a little bit about your company. Give us some background.
Okay. Well, we've been incorporated since 2007. And what we mainly do is protective details, and we bend toward the higher threat environment. We've been doing this for quite some time, even before I incorporated as Secfor International. I was doing this a few years before incorporation under my own flag, and then prior to that, I was doing this for other organizations. We primarily work in the Middle East, Latin America. We've been pretty much constantly in Mexico since 2008. We pretty much just run details constantly. In about 2012, we started conducting training to show others how we do this. And so now, same thing, we're conducting details constantly, and we're running training programs at the same time. So we come right off a detail and right into the classroom to let you know where we screwed up or where we did something good.
I think that's awesome. Rick, you kind of gave us the overall focus of your program, but what's the background? What led you guys to create this program?
Common ground. Not everybody came from the same background. We have military guys, we have law enforcement, we have professional security, just security professionals, no military and no law enforcement background, but they knew this was the direction they wanted to go a long time ago. So they went through all the steps to actually make it happen. And we can talk about that later. I hear a lot online about, oh, you have to be some sort of a tier 1 operator or special forces to do protection work. And that's just simply not the case. I started out myself as a security guard. All right. That's where I started my career. And I was checking receipts at a Target store when they used to have that program back in the old days. And that's how I started. And I knew what I wanted to do the whole time, and I just kept taking those steps one at a time until I got to where I wanted to be.
Well, that was actually a question I was going to ask you a little bit, further down the line here. But, that is one of the things that is kind of a sticking point for people. What do I have to have in order to work in executive protection? Now, I've told people that I worked in executive protection last year during the protests, working for the news organizations. We would do plainclothes armed details where we would make sure that the camera crew and the reporters, could get in and get out safely. And that is a level of executive protection. But I think that, oftentimes when it comes to security guards, we tend to see things like really black and white. And it's like this idea of, maybe the movie Taken, where Liam Neeson is working for the major pop star, and he's doing these like super aggressive details and doing the karate moves and things like that. But executive protection, it's as simple as escorting a bank executive to and from his car, at work and things like that, all the way to those things that we see on television and movies and what people deem to be executive protection. But can you kind of talk about some of the tiers, and you even brought it up yourself, that some of the people that work within your company, they're tier 1 forward operators. These are guys who are like what I call the tip of the spear. These are your Navy SEALs, your Army Rangers. But like within your company, you have people of varying degrees of experience, varying degrees of past. Kind of just talk to these viewers about how there's different opportunities at very vastly different levels for people to work within executive protection.
Right. Yeah. It can go so many different directions, and I'll just go ahead and give you a few different ways. And I'm going to try to think about this from a security guard standpoint. The best thing for a security guard that wants to transition into executive protection is to get a little training under the belt. And we'll talk about that later, and then go into residential protection. A residential protection is going to be protecting a principal or a client's home. And if you didn't know, most of the time an executive protection agent gets into any problems. There's been some armed incidents in Los Angeles and other places. It's usually around the house. So it's usually that residential security team that actually has some issues to deal with. So it's not, some people think it's a glorified security guard. Absolutely it's not. The pay will actually show you that you're not just they expect you to make higher level decisions, and with that comes a higher level of salary. And for you, what that means is a higher level of training, and the training should be something that would put you over and over again into challenging situations. And it's not always an attack situation. A lot of schools, all they'll do is an attack situation at the end of their course, and then everybody high fives and it's all over. What you need to look for are schools that will actually give you that day-to-day experience. That way, when you get out of that school, you actually feel, I've been here before. I know what to do. So residential security is a great way to start. Usually what happens is if you're in a residential detail, this has happened to a lot of our students. They got picked up on residential. They showed up on time. They were squared away. They didn't do anything wrong on detail, and wrong can mean a lot of different things, and we can go into that later. But they were a good residential security agent, and they would get picked up onto the mobile teams. Then they would start escorting the client around town, internationally, or what have you. But residential is a great place to start. And again, when you're talking like Northern California or something, you're talking 85, 90 grand a year. It looks like you're doing probably what you're doing now, but like I said, there's a much greater level of responsibility. And with that, that's why that paycheck goes up a little bit. Now, we got a couple other things, strike details, okay? Businesses or companies that go on strikes. EP guys are doing those all day long. Regular EP guys that are working celebrities and things, they'll jump on a strike detail. They pay the same, why not? And now you start talking about, okay, well, what else is there? Well, the mobile details, okay, that's when you're going to be actually escorting a client around from their home to their business, maybe on a business trip. Some corporations have domestic teams, or local teams that'll just stay around the house and to the office. And then some will go international with the client. Sometimes those are separated. Tour security, that's its own separate thing where you're actually going to be traveling with an artist while they do their scheduled dates. We do a lot of these down in Mexico, Latin America. We'll hit Colombia, Brazil, and a couple other countries. We don't do tour security in the States, not my company. But when the management team feels that it's a little bit more risky, that's usually when we're called in, because that is more our cup of tea. That's just a few of the many ways executive protection can go. And like I said, for you guys, don't ever think that, oh, I don't have a shot at it. You know, I'm a security guard. I'm not military this, law enforcement that. You don't have to be. Some of the best guys I've ever worked with never had that military law enforcement background. They just came from a professional security background.
Outstanding. You know, last year was probably one of the most pivotal years, specifically for me. I'm 43. So by far the most pivotal year of my life in terms of what I witnessed this country go through, all of the unrest, the turmoil, everything that happened with the pandemic. And, you know, we can kind of look and see all the way through the election that things are shifting and they're turning right now. What's the temperature of executive protection right now in 2021 going in to 2022? Are things evolving? Are they changing? Is it pretty much the same, you know, business as usual? Or are you guys seeing a shift in your industry as well?
You know, I was worried when the shutdown started, and this was early 2020. And I was starting to get a little bit worried because a lot of our international clients stopped traveling. And we've had clients that have been with us for, you know, more than 10 years. And these were regular gigs that we would go on, 2-3 days in Colombia, a week in Brazil, maybe a week in Lebanon. We had these regular things, and all of a sudden, everything dried up. And at first, I was a little bit worried. That lasted about a month and a half, 2 months. And then all of a sudden, these guys and girls that have to get out there and do their jobs to make money, they started traveling again. So all there was for us was, okay, now we have to negotiate the testing and all these different things, crossing borders and what documents we needed and how many days we'd have to spend here. And is there a quarantine in this country? We had to start looking at this in a whole different way. So that changed for us. Now, as far as the operational tempo, really, we're back to normal now. Everything is full speed ahead. And the way I see it is, as far as anybody looking to get into the industry now, this is a really good time to get in. You mentioned some of the things that you were seeing, the defunding of the police. Things are not getting any safer out there. If you look at the crime stats all across the nation, murder rates in numerous countries have doubled, increased by 100%. Property crimes, as you see, are kind of out of control right now. All this is leading many corporations into a little bit of a feeling of insecurity. We're getting calls from companies now that maybe wouldn't have called us 2-3 years ago.
Absolutely.
But people are getting nervous out there. Now, I'm not saying it's good to be nervous, but for the security professionals, it's not bad to have a reason to be needed. And right now, what we're seeing is really an increase. This thing is definitely, a pendulum has swung back the other way. And I think this is a really good time for anybody to be getting into the industry seriously and looking into a long-term career, because I just don't see this getting any safer. Internationally, same thing. Things aren't getting any better out there. So it's a good time to get in. Things are definitely heating up.
So for guards who primarily watch this channel, I try to cater towards new and entry-level guards. You've been very good about kind of reiterating that you don't have to be, former military, former law enforcement, have this Navy SEAL background. What is it specifically? If you could just say, one or two things, what is it specifically that a security guard right now who wants to get into executive protection, what should they be focusing on the most in terms of preparing and being ready to reach out and try and get one of these positions?
I'm going to use a statement that I'm actually stealing from a guy. We would have recruiters come into our class and they would say, oh, we want to hire some of your guys. We know how they're trained, blah, blah, blah. I would ask them, what are you looking for so that I can maybe groom them better to go into your, it's pretty high level security organization. And I won't say the exact words he said. I'll tone it down a little bit. He said, make sure they have their crap together. And, no, nothing about shooting, nothing about driving, nothing about medical, nothing about that. Make sure they have their crap together, in so many words. And I said, well, what does that mean? Administratively. Make sure administratively you're good to go. If you got bad credit, start fixing that credit now. You'll be thanking me in 3 or 4 years when you finally get this up to maybe an acceptable level. If you got a past legal problem that happened a long time ago, be done with that stuff. There's a time gap that all employers, including the government, look at. It's for something pretty serious. It's usually about 7 years. So if you did some hijinks back in the day, especially if you were just a kid, because they kind of give you a pass on that, make sure you're running straight now. So that's kind of part of having your crap together. Make sure that you have a resume that's correct. So you're going to want to get this back checked by a lot of different people. And I'm not talking about training it. I'm just talking about having your admin stuff together. Because to tell you the truth, that's what's going to get you the job. They'll figure out how much you know later on, usually, for the most part. So having your birth certificate, having your high school graduation, having a package of everything an employer may need so that they're not waiting around for it when there's a job present. So being squared away and having all your paperwork ready. And the last one I'm going to say is be presentable. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you look, how you dress. They want to see, can I put this person in front of a client? That's what they're going to be looking at. Now, for me, I look at you a little bit differently because we usually work high threat areas. My main focus is, can this person protect? Does this person get the planning process and the art of avoidance? I need to know that before, but for most of you that are going to be going into an HR department, looking for an AP job, presenting yourself and having your stuff together is really going to be a huge, huge part. If you're not fit, guess what? Tomorrow, you're going to do 5 push-ups. And guess what you're going to do the next day? You're going to do 7 the next day. And then you're going to take a day off, and the next day you're going to do 10. And then you're going to run a half a mile. If you can't run a half a mile, you're going to walk it fast. And then that next day, you're going to do it a little bit faster. Start taking these baby steps into getting where you want to be. I've seen guys make complete and total transformations in their lives, and then they got to where they want to be. That's what you should start working on now. Maybe you're new in the industry. You just started acting as a security guard. Maybe you're less than a year in, less than 6 months in. If you have higher aspirations on getting somewhere else, start working on that now, and you'll get to where you want to go. You'll get as high as you could possibly get if you start working on it now and you never quit working on it. And I'm perfect example. I had a lot of issues, a lot of roadblocks in my way as I was navigating to the point I'm at now. I just wouldn't stop.
You know, Rick, I think you bring up a lot of great points, and I've tried to hammer this home myself. You tend to look at the flashy aspects of either security or law enforcement or specifically executive protection, you know, hand-to-hand combat, you know, defensive tactics, situational awareness. But you're so correct that 90% of getting your foot in the door in any industry is being prepared for that opportunity when it shows up. You know, you can speak to this when a client has to be somewhere tomorrow in 7 hours. They don't have time for you to get your passport together or try and find your license or your, you know, your
right.
You know, these are all things that if it's important, and now I'm talking specifically to the viewers, if this aspect of the industry is important to you, you need to start hammering out the things that you do have control over. You know, Rick again is talking about physical fitness and some other aspects. Maybe those are things that take a little bit more time, but things like getting together your paperwork, having, like you said, that package where if the opportunity were to come tomorrow, you can say, no problem, let me go ahead and send you that zip file and you can download all the needed documents and I can be on that plane tomorrow. And that's something that I thought about probably about 6 months ago. I had never had a passport. I didn't have my, you know, it's called a TWIC card, which is the maritime card, and it allows you to have fast access through the TSA. These are all things that I've gotten over the past, you know, 3 or 4 months, because specifically I want to be in a situation where if a job opens up and I have that opportunity, I want to be able to do that. So I think that you're speaking to some very good information that anybody who's watching this right now can take advantage of. Your school specifically, tell the viewers how your either online training program or in-person training program can help these people break into this industry.
Right. What we tend to do is in our in-person training, when you come out, we do a ridiculously long 7-week academy, but we also have some shorter trainings as well, because we know that that's not possible for everyone to come out for 7 weeks. What we try to do is actually put you in the position that you're going to find yourself in when you get out of our school on detail. Now, that might not be very exciting, but you'll feel comfortable in knowing that, oh, wow, we did this in school. I know exactly what to do now. So we focus on a lot of planning, a lot of avoidance. The advanced work, some of you may have heard of advanced work. That's just a fancy term for, you know, reconnaissance of the routes and the venues, threat assessments. What's really dangerous to our client, where we're going, and how can we avoid that or mitigate that? If we can't mitigate it, maybe we change plans and we do something else. So you'll start looking at things in a different way after you take a proper training program, whether it be ours or somebody else's, on traveling somewhere. Some of these things you may do now when you're traveling. If you go somewhere with your family, sometimes you'll do a little bit of advanced work. You don't even know it on the computer, checking out the crime statistics and other things before you even go. That's what we do. We just kind of do that on steroids. We do a comprehensive medical program. We do our medical program a little bit differently. We like to hit you with the medical stuff early. We don't just get you with the blood and gut stuff. A lot of people will just do the tourniquets, and if you know what TCCC is, Tactical Combat Casualty Care, yeah, we'll get you that cert, but we want you to understand what's going on in the body first. So what we do first is what's called emergency medical responder. It's like EMT light. Pretty much the same skill set, but much more compacted. It's just a week-long program. Gets you into that, then gets you into the blood and guts, and then all your CPR and AED cards. But then what we do is we'll put you on a detail, and we'll have some sort of a medical issue kick off on your mock detail. And then let's see how you go ahead and respond to that. And it might not be what you think it's going to be. It might not be, you know, somebody shot into the vehicle and your client's been hit in the neck. It might be they passed out in the back. All right, what did you learn in your medical emergencies class or classes that taught you what you should do at this point? So we try to put you again in these environments that more realistically you may come in contact with. Now, do we still do the crazy things are blowing up around you? Yeah, because a lot of our guys are going State Department, they are going overseas. So we'll do that too. You have to be able to protect. If you go to a week-long school that just teaches you how to get the job, how to dress right, how to do a great resume, the right things to say, you might get the job based on just that. But can you really protect? And if you can't, are you kind of shorting out the, are you kind of screwing over the client? If when something happens, you really don't have the right knowledge or the right skills to get them out of a jam. Our driving package is 7 days. I see a lot of them out there that are 2 or 3 days. We do a 7 day. The only time we'll do a 2 or 3 day usually is if somebody has had training in the past. And we just focus on security things instead of the cones, which we call the dynamics, the braking, the steering, the cones, the weight shift. Surveillance detection. When you're going to high threat areas particularly, you need to know how to practically pick out a problem. If somebody's going to attack you, they got to watch you first. So we teach you how to pick this out in a very basic way, the most basic way, but the way that's going to catch a lot of people looking at you if they're actually tracking you. We'll put you in this situation on the ground with clients. Again, we do multiple details in our classes. And now we'll actually have role players on the ground that do not look like us. And they'll try to break that security bubble of your detail. You might have a 2 or 3 person detail, and they'll try to get in between the security personnel and your client, and everything will be on videotape. And guess what happens the next morning in class? We break out the videotapes of what happened the day before. You can talk to somebody in class all day long about how to do these things. I see a lot of schools that'll do a 45-minute tactical medical briefing, a 45-minute surveillance detection PowerPoint. That does nothing. And we know that because we have to do that first, and when we get people out of the ground, they will not succeed until they fail. So I think that's the difference between what our school does is we're going to put you in this situation with a lot of different opportunities, let you fail, and then show you what you did wrong, and then you will succeed by the end of the course. It's very rare we ever have anybody that gets briefed by some of our surveillance operatives that doesn't block these people out at the end of the course of their final detail. So what we bring is realism. Online right now, we're going to have a whole string of online courses, but we have a roadmap. And the reason we have that is because when we travel to dangerous areas, you want a hard map with you. Anyone that tells you not to, or it's stupid, or don't do that, they don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't care what kind of experience they have. And the reason we want hard maps is because when we go to these, we just came back from Syria not long ago. Everything can get blocked. Your GPS can get blocked. You're not allowed to use a phone in many areas if you're going near the front lines, because the drones are tracking your phone signals, and they'll just throw one right on top of your head. That's happened in the last 2 conflict zones I was at. So if you're being restricted in the electronic use that we're used to here, we make hard maps, and there's very simple but I guess complete way to do this that we do overseas. That's part of our advanced work. Learning these things makes you
Rick, let me jump in for a second. I need to take a class on map reading. I'm horrible. My wife's over here looking at me because she knows, like, you literally could take me outside of my apartment right now and turn me in a 360-degree circle, and I would have a hard time getting back inside. Like,
I know guys in AP like that, believe it or not.
Hey, listen, listen, everybody wants to take a defensive tactics class. I would like basic directions would be my like the absolute best class for me.
I'll send you a copy of our route mapping course so that you can take the course, and then you can tell your folks what you think. If you love it, you love it. If you hate it, please tell them you hate it.
I will.
I think when you see it, you're going to go, "Holy crap! This is what I was supposed to be doing." Okay.
I will absolutely take it. And
okay.
my wife's off camera over here laughing because she knows I'm horrible. Hey, I wanted to interject and ask you a question. When I was kind of looking into your company and what you guys do, and I was on your YouTube page, the videos that you have, are those videos that you've actually taken in theater?
Some of them. We have a couple of videos where it shows us kind of rolling around Iraq, and I've actually got some more that we got from Syria recently, and another conflict zone called Karabakh. Nobody knows where that is. And I'll be putting those on YouTube probably the next month or so. But yeah, if it's overseas, it's somewhere that I took this overseas probably with my phone. Almost all the videos on that YouTube, I actually just took with my phone, even all the train videos. And we don't set anything up. The training you saw was actual training. I'm just running alongside these guys with my phone.
I think that my viewers, I'm going to post a link to your channel. Everybody
Okay.
go and watch his videos. It's some of that stuff is pretty gruesome, man.
Yeah, we don't spare any expense on our medical trainings. We bring in Hollywood moulage artists. So we want, when people run into that room after their training and they think they're going through their easy final, we want them to say, "Oh crap."
Absolutely.
And then snap in and see if they can go ahead and perform what we've been teaching them over the last week or whatever.
I love it. Well, finally, what is the cost of your program, and where can people find you on social media?
So we have many different programs. I can give you some ideas. Our online programs, like our route mapping program, I'll give you that as an example because that's the first one we put out. It was $95 and we're moving it up to $155. So if you get in now, you can still get that $95. That's like an 11-hour course. And here's what it isn't. It isn't something where you just listen to somebody drone on for 11 hours, because I'd probably hang myself if that were the case. This is a skills course. You'll actually be preparing protective missions on your computer. You'll be submitting them to me, and I'm actually going to be critiquing them and tell you what you can do better on the next one. We have actually 4 assignments that you'll be doing. By your 4th assignment, you're supposed to, this one, I want you to be able to present to a corporate entity. That's the goal that we're reaching. So $95. Most of our classes online are going to be between $75 and probably $150. That's probably the range, but they're going to be pretty complete courses. In-person courses, well, if you were just to come out and do a 7-day program, we don't do a whole lot of those unless you already have experience, but I think we'll probably start because it seems to be that's what people are looking for. It's going to cost you, probably $2,300. And we'll include lodging in that. Our training facility has lodging on site. Our driving tracks there, our shooting ranges are there. Everything's pretty much there. If you tack on a driving program that is separate, we can do a 3-day, even though we don't like it, but I know that's what a lot of people are looking for. It's going to be another $2,000. So now you're talking about $4,200 for a 10-day program, which is not bad, including lodging. What's good about our driving program too is we don't just stop you at the cones. You're actually security driving. You're driving in formation. You're communicating vehicle to vehicle. You're doing these things over and over again. So when you actually get on detail, you guys know kind of, what to do and who does what, rather than just drive up through cones and get paintball shot at you.
I like it. And I think that it's good for people to actually hear this because, I've run across some people in various positions who, have an experience with executive protection. And a lot of times their answers to these questions are very vague. You've been very upfront. You've been very, transparent about, your pricing and what you think people need to focus on. I applaud that because I think that at the end of the day, right now, this is a pivotal moment in security as well, where people are starting to realize that they can have a career. Specifically me, I never would have thought I could have had a career in security, but I'm doing very well for myself and I'm happy with the things I'm developing. But I also think that there's people out there that are starting to realize that security is kind of a blanket concept and word for a lot of different things in the industry that don't necessarily fall under law enforcement. So something like what you're offering and what you're helping to teach and facilitate, I think that's really good for especially some of these younger, newer guards, because they could kind of funnel into this and then have something to set themselves up for a very profitable and happy future. So where can everyone find you on social media? What's your website and where do you prefer to be contacted?
Pretty much any social media platform you go to, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Instagram, those are probably the only ones we actually use semi-actively. I'm not really active on social media. Just put in Secfor International. And you're going to hit, if you do that in the Facebook search, you'll get our Facebook page. If you do that on Instagram, you'll get our Instagram page. If you do that on Google, you'll get our web page. I would say the one we're transitioning to now is, it's called courses.secfor360.com. That's the one where we're going to be putting all of our courses, not just our online courses, but our in-person as well. We're also starting a free online executive protection community for newcomers and experienced alike. We're going to be putting, I just finished our first one, 30-minute briefing on protective medicine to tell all you guys kind of what you should be thinking about, even as far as why is protective medicine different than just being an EMT? What kind of layers are we looking at when we actually go out with a client? And we'll be doing these things throughout the year, and these will be completely free always. And we'll be doing free PDFs and things for checklists and things like that as well, just to kind of get people pointed in the right direction so they kind of have a better understanding. I still see people on all these websites out here or these Facebook pages asking, well, so how do I get into EP? It's still very convoluted because then you have 30 people saying 30 different things.
Absolutely.
And when I read through it, I'm like, no. Most of them are wrong. Once in a while, you'll get a little glimmer of hope where somebody will have something that's actually correct. How does that person reading that know? It's really difficult. So that community we're setting up over at courses.secfor360.com, that's going to go ahead to solve that. That will be live next week. But if you go onto that site right now, you can sign up for the newsletter. Then you'll get blasted out when it goes live.
Awesome. Good. Well, Rick, one of the things that I do here on the podcast is I try and have the guests leave with a parting shot. You actually answered my question. I was going to ask you, what should the security guards be focused on? You talked about having their shit together, being squared away, having all of their documents and being prepared for the opportunity when the opportunity comes along. But just one last parting shot before we let you go. What is something that a security guard can do right now today that would help them to become a potential hire for an executive protection company?
Start studying. Study everything you can. There's so much stuff online regarding executive protection. I would start tapping into every different group. You even might want to come up with a separate Gmail account just for your executive protection studies. That way you can save everything in that account. And even a YouTube channel, save everything in your education YouTube channel. Start searching the web. There'll be something that you heard that piqued your interest. Punch that in. See everything you can find. Read everybody's opinion on this. There might be a lot of experienced guys that have completely different ways to do it. And then start forming opinions yourself. If you learn a little bit every day, not only will you feel better about yourself, you're actually improving a little bit every day. But in a year's time, you're going to have a lot of knowledge. I think I read a study recently that said if somebody dedicates themselves to one subject on, I think it was just on the web, not just YouTube or Google, but on the web for 1 year, they have the knowledge equivalent of like a master's degree of what you'd get in the university, which is probably true. So learn every single day, learn a little bit. Even if you don't have time and you're tired, take 10 minutes to learn something you didn't know. You'll feel better about yourself and it'll pay off in the end.
Outstanding. Secfor 360, Secfor International. Rick, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast, brother. It's been a
David.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so that's the end of the podcast, and I'm going to stop broadcasting here. Just one second.